What's going on, all you gamers? Today I'm going to be going over what the best weapons are in Halo Infinite. So if you're playing the multiplayer and want to know what weapons are worth grabbing in order to have an upper hand against your opponents, then stick around, that's coming up next. Welcome back all you guys and girls, as always, for all things gaming, for all things Xbox, then why not hit that subscribe and bell icon. But for today I'm going to be going over my top choices for weapons in Halo Infinite that can really help to give you that edge in combat and help rack up those kills. So first off, just so you know, I'm far from a pro at Halo and probably classed more of a casual first person shooter, but after jumping in and out of enough games, as well as testing weapons in the gun range and in practice matches, I've come to the conclusion that there are a lot of power weapons and weapons in general that just don't hold up to some of the others, whereas others can really do the job. So here are my top picks. So kicking it off at number 6, and we have the S7 sniper rifle.
Sniper.
No Halo list, or probably in fact any first person shooter list, would be complete without a good old fashioned sniper rifle. And love them or hate them, if you manage to get the shot you want with them, or manage to get yourself into a nice vantage point, you can really rack up some great kills with this weapon. Of course, headshots are the way forward with the sniper, and if you manage to land those headshots, each one will net you a kill. Or of course 2 body shots if you miss the headshots, will also do the trick. However, with most of the maps in the Halo Infinite ranked multiplayer being quite close quarters, it can make these a little harder to use, and quite a few stages, especially when you factor in being shot knocks you out of the scope, means that this isn't quite the powerhouse that it is in some of the other games. That being said, I am far from the best sniper in first person shooters, and in the right hands I can see this jumping up the list massively, as someone with very high skill level or accuracy could quite easily net themselves multiple kills very quickly. Dropping in at 5th spot, and we have the Sentinel Beam.
Slayer.
Now this one is quite a fun weapon to use, and it actually has a really nice time to kill ratio, as long as you can manage to keep that beam on your target at all times. In fact, if you have this and have thrown in a grenade already, or have had players knock off a little bit of energy from some of the team, this can really chip away at a person's health, and can mop up kills really fast in the right situation. Definitely not ideal for those long range encounters, and probably one that's a little bit niche compared to some of the others with standard projectiles and such, but in the right hands again, this one can actually do an awful lot of damage. Just hold that trigger down and don't let go until the enemy falls over, and you may well find that this one is a little bit of a hidden gem. Now at number 4, and one that's pretty much has to make the list, is the BR-75 battle rifle.
Rifleman.
Fortunately, this one is a very solid weapon, and pretty much anyone who has played the Halo franchise will have played with some variant of this weapon at some point. Now the battle rifle is all about that mid to long range game, and making sure that you get headshots aplenty. 4 headshots and an enemy will fall over. Now this weapon is the starting weapon that you get whilst playing the ranked matchmaking list, so it's definitely a weapon in the game that you're probably going to want to get used to most, as you'll almost definitely be seeing an absolute abundance of it. Now I've not played a Halo game for a while, so maybe I'm slightly off with this, but to me it doesn't quite seem as strong as it is in some of the other games. However, it is still a very stable weapon, and if you have a nice bit of accuracy about yourself, you can very easily net yourself some kills. Especially if you're playing with a team or at least another person and you're both aiming for that same headshot, you're going to find that the opponent falls over very quickly. All in all, a great weapon to use at a distance, and very often I found myself in this game not scoping in because you get knocked out of it quickly, and just trying to get those headshots with the standard hipfire bursts. Try to get used to this weapon as much as you can, even if you need to jump into the gun range or so, because it's definitely going to be one of the most used guns in Halo Infinite. Next up, and jumping in at the number 3 spot, and we have the Skewer.
Big game hunter.
Now this one will very much be a hit or miss to the player, as well as a hit or miss to the enemy itself. As you may have guessed from the name, this weapon literally skewers its enemies with a projectile that impales them. However, it's a one-shot kill. If you have great accuracy, this one can be an absolute beast, and you could quite easily see yourself netting a few easy kills, as even if you don't manage to hit those headshots, it doesn't matter, get those toe shots, those leg shots, those body shots, any one of those is going to make the enemy fall over. However, this one is very much a medium range weapon. At long range and close range, I found that this one could be a bit of a liability. At longer ranges, you're much going to prefer a sniper, and at closer ranges, anything like an AR or faster firing weapon definitely works for the better. But once you get used to this weapon, and if you've got some great reflexes and accuracy, you can really find yourself turning the tide with this weapon, but I do feel like it takes a bit more getting used to than some of the others in the game. Now it's also a bit of a double-edged sword, because if you do miss that first shot, you may well find yourself running away for a while, or swapping over to another weapon, because it does take an awful long time to reload for the next shot. In fact, most times if you do manage to miss that first shot, there's a good chance that that enemy is going to be able to take you down first. When I first started using this weapon, I was absolutely awful with it, and after quite a bit of practice, I've now found it's one of my favourite weapons in the game. However, I definitely feel it takes a high level of skill and a little bit of luck from time to time in order to make those shots, because they seem to be quite pinpoint accuracy. An absolutely awesome weapon, but one that takes quite a lot of practice and a bit of precision. Now coming in at the second spot, and there's no doubt in my mind that this will be much lower on a lot of people's lists, and that is the shock rifle.
Feeling lucky.
Now the shock rifle is a bit of a weird gun. Again, it's more of a mid-range weapon, but rather than shooting out a bullet, this one instead fires a kind of bolt of energy. If you get a headshot with it, then again, nice and easy, it's an instant kill. Think of this as a very odd sniper, used over a much shorter distance. Also, when it hits an enemy, if others are near it, the projectile's damage can arc to those near it. So if there's enough enemies around them, it can do quite a bit of extra damage to those as well. Now everything in my body tells me that this gun shouldn't be very good. It doesn't hit as hard as the Skewer, it doesn't have the range of the sniper, and if you're hitting body shots with this, it's going to mean the end of you, because someone will definitely beat you to the punch and take you down before you'll be able to take them down. However, after playing with it for quite some time, I find that especially in a team, you can rack up some really nice damage and get some kills that you probably wouldn't have got without it. Again, it's definitely one that you're going to need a bit of accuracy with, and you will be aiming for those headshots. If you're absolutely awful at headshots, this one won't be the one for you. But I found with a nice team, and with the amount of grenades that go off in Halo, taking people's health down left, right and centre, I tend to be mopping up quite a few kills with this weapon that I may well not have been able to get on my own. All in all, it's a much better weapon than I'd imagined, and I'd definitely say it's one worth trying out in a practice match or in the gun range to see if it floats your boat as well. Make sure you keep that medium distance though, as it definitely doesn't have the fastest fire rate, but for someone aiming for those headshots or for picking off kills, this weapon is absolutely ideal. Also, along with some of the other energy weapons in the game, it can disable vehicles with a few hits, which can make for some nice easy enemy kills whilst they're sitting around not being able to do much other than get out of their vehicle. Now coming in at that top spot, and we have the M41 Spanker.
Extermination.
This weapon, although not quite as new or unique as some of the other power weapons in the game, is probably the only weapon that everyone will always choose to pick up whenever they see that it's available. The Spanker does exactly what it says on the tin, it spanks people. Well, kind of, it definitely spanks their health bar. Pretty similar to any rocket launcher in any game ever, you're going to want to try when possible to aim downwards and hit the enemy as close on as possible, but obviously with enough distance to not worry about hurting yourself. It does have a small blast radius, which will also see them falling over. Although there are a lot of weapons in the game, I had to chuck this one in at the top spot, as it's just so easy to use and you definitely don't want the enemy team having it in their hands. It only comes with 2 rockets as standard, however a well placed shot into a closely packed team could easily net you 2 to 3 or even upwards kills. The ideal easy to use weapon that everyone loves to have but doesn't like to see in an opponent's hands. Just make sure that you don't shoot it too close to an enemy, a wall or a teammate, or you may well be the person who's being scooped up off of the floor.
Overtime.
Even though the best weapon slots have been filled up, no list would be complete without a melee weapon. And for that option, we go straight over to the energy sword.
Sneak King.
Now the energy sword is a staple of the franchise and just straight up one of the coolest looking weapons in the game. In the right circumstances, this weapon can net you some absolutely amazing kills, quite often 2 or more in a row, as long as you're not being focused on by the enemy team. Now, as in all other Halo games, when the reticle turns red, this is when you're in range and want to be pulling that trigger to launch your attack and jump in for the kill. This weapon on its own can really see yourself getting some easy kills and having some fun with it at the same time. However, pair it with a camo and you can make for some really fun antics. Just make sure that you don't get caught out in the open with one of these, because if anyone sees you with an energy sword out in the open, their first priority will definitely be to mow you down before you can close that distance. Still definitely one of the best weapons in the game, and with a little bit of cunning you can quite easily net yourself some kills for the team. Right, you gamers, that's my top picks for the best weapons in Halo Infinite's multiplayer. Let me know what you guys and girls think yourself, if you'd have placed them differently, which probably a lot of you will have, and if you've got other ones that you'd like to chuck in the list, then why not let me know in the comments. But as always, for all you gamers, all things Xbox, for all things gaming, take care, I'll see you on the next day.
Game over.